Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. Today is the 20th of March, 2026. It's 11 o'clock Central European Time, and we are back live on Binance Square and a few other places, and we shall refer to that from now on as the rest of the world. A few good mornings to Reese. Maya is in chat. Totti is here. Han is here. Hidden Agendas is here. Eddie is here. Bitcoin Buyer is in chat. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. Remember, if this is the first time you have seen sight or sound of Crypto Warehouse, your sole responsibility is to follow us. That's all you got to do. Give us a follow and help us grow the channel. We have a busy day today. We're going to be talking about an awful lot of varied content. It's a Friday, so we've mixed it up a bit. We are going to be talking about Bitcoin. I might bring up the Bitcoin chart. We're going to be talking about the quadruple witching. We're going to be talking about Hashi, which is a Sui DeFi product that's just been launched. We're going to be talking about a asset manager that's just launched a fund with two particular altcoins in it. We're going to talk about oil trading. We're going to talk about the algo cuts, and then we're going to talk about the Aave Animoca partnership and the X-Files. And of course, we're going to look at the prices. So I hope you are comfortable. It is a Friday. Just get a coffee, relax, sit down and watch along. And I am about to sneeze. I do apologize. Okay, let's get into some price action and have a little look at what is going on in crypto. Oh, excuse me. So, last time we streamed was Wednesday night. The last time I streamed was Tuesday, and we went through the price action. Bitcoin is struggling to break $74,000. That is the cold, hard fact that I am bringing to you this Friday morning. We can't break 74,000. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to impact the price of Bitcoin along the way. Lots of different macro factors, of course. The cycle is going to affect Bitcoin. But the fact that we've had a run now 3 or 4 times at $74,000 makes me think that it's becoming one of those probable lines in the sand that we don't cross and we come down from here. Remember, we've got the 3 prices for Bitcoin: about 74,000, about 80,000, and about, I think, about $84,000. They are the 3 prices that I've had on the chart for about 3 or 4 weeks now. I did think that we were going to break 74,000 and go up towards 80, 81,000 and then get rejected from there. That was the plan. But Bitcoin is its own beast. And I am not going to sit here and pretend like I know exactly where Bitcoin is going to go. I think we have one of 3 targets to get rejected at, and then we're going to go lower. So Mind the Gap, which is the title of today's show, is called Mind the Gap because I do think that we are going to come down. Now then, as well as coming in at $70,000, Bitcoin did break below $70,000 last night, came down into the 69,000 range. We've got back above it. We are down a little bit on the week now. Ethereum is holding up a little bit better, coming in just under 21.50. XRP, the stable coin, $1.40. It's a $1.44. That's not moving either. Solana has lost $90. It was above it very, very briefly. Again, my long-term target is probably going to be around about $50 for Solana. I'd love to get a $50 Solana in any correction. You should be looking to take advantage of the next 6 to 9 months. And if Bitcoin does come down towards the $50,000 range, then expect Solana to go towards $50 to $60. Expect XRP to probably wick below $1. Ethereum could go to $1,400. So there's a lot of potential to accumulate in these zones. Okay, it's not the end of crypto. Okay, we've all been on this roller coaster many times before. We are probably going to see some move up, and then we're going to see a slightly bigger move down. So if we look at what's gaining and what's losing in the last 24 hours, Tau is up. There was a conversation at a conference between the CEO of NVIDIA and the CEO of somebody else, and somebody else was there as well, talking about how you need basically two different industries for AI. You need the open source industry, and then you need the kind of the commercial industry, and they both need to run side by side. And that was the kind of the gist of the conversation that they were having. And Tau was at the center of that conversation. So that is probably a good reason why it's up 15%. ASI is continuing to rise, but it's still got a long way to go. Quant is up. Quant is a coin that I don't think is ever going to go below 60 or go above $100. It's just constantly $80 to $90. Not a lot we can do about that. Shiba is up a little bit. Not many gainers. A few losers. River is down. Meme, Casper, WLFI. Now, my range to buy that token, as I have said, is 7 to 9 cents. We are at 9.023. So we are getting towards the buy zone for World Liberty Financial. That is a coin that I hold a bag of. I've covered it in at least 2 or 3 dedicated live streams. I think that's a good token to hold. WorldCoin, I am absolutely not a fan of that token. Zcash, I'm not a fan of privacy tokens either. Trump, not going to talk about Trump either. Aave is down. Midnight is down. There's a lot of decent coins in there, but there's a lot of trash in there as well. So anyway, we are on a Friday. Let's go through some tweets, some X-Files before we get into the show. Remember, if you're in chat on Binance Square, we have our own chat room now. If you go to our profile at the top, you're going to see the list of our live streams, and you're also going to see a link called chat room. If you go there, you can join our chat room, and we will notify you when we're going live, when we have our competitions, when we have our giveaways, when we do our freebies. That's all going to be in there. Now, this is what we're going to be covering in an article in a minute. Sui has launched Hashi DevNet, allowing Bitcoin holders to earn yield, lend, and borrow without selling. A new era of Bitcoin finance on Sui. This is this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants to have Bitcoin yield on their blockchain. That is for me, the single biggest thing that people want. We've seen it on Sui, we've seen it on Cardano, we've seen it on Solana, we've seen layer 2s on Bitcoin try to do it, we've seen CoreDAO try to run with this, we have Lombard. Everybody is trying to unlock yield on Bitcoin. It's the big one. It's the big one for me. Bitcoin makes up 60% of crypto, so if we can tap into that, it's all well and good. Now then, let's move on very quickly. I do not know what has happened to chat today, but there doesn't seem to be any notifications being sent out in the rest of the world to let anybody else know that we are streaming. Now, new tokenized stocks just landed on chain. The largest tokenized stock platform by TVL just got bigger, with 60 new assets spanning key sectors and trends. If you're on Binance Square, you will be able to tap into this because Ondo is offering their products on Binance as well. They have covered AI, oil, data, space, biotech, defense, quantum, China exposure, and many more. There are 250 assets across Ethereum, Solana, and BNB chain, expanding across to the world's largest capital markets. Again, like I said, if you are on Binance, Ondo's tokenized stocks are available to you. As far as I'm aware, they're available in every country. Maybe there are certain sections that they are not in, but on the whole, you can have a tokenized version of Tesla, you can own Microsoft, you can own Apple, the major big tokens. Now, Morgan Stanley has filed an S1 for a spot Bitcoin ETF under the ticker MSBT. Late to the party, absolutely. It doesn't really matter, though. The more avenues for Bitcoin to be bought, the better. That's the way I see it. I don't care when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't care if there are 100 different ETFs. I don't care if Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, I don't care giving individuals access to Bitcoin. Maybe they don't want to use an exchange. Maybe they don't want to use Revolut or Robinhood. Maybe they want to use their tried and trusted bank that they've been with for 30 or 40 years. These ETFs will give them exposure to Bitcoin, which is what everybody wants. If you want to have your bags pumped, you want as many ETFs as possible. Moving on very quickly. Mark Yusko, somebody I've followed for a very long time. Always interesting how Peter Schiff literally vanishes from my timeline when the gold safe haven thesis shows any sign of weakness. Bitcoin holding up during the conflict better than the barbarous relic. Digital gold is more secure, more divisible, and more portable. Now, this is fact. Peter Schiff is, for those of you that don't know, he is the probably the number one voice for gold in the cryptoverse, the Twitterverse. He talks about gold all the time. He pumps his bags of gold. Whenever Bitcoin shows weakness, he talks about gold. Gold is great. Gold is God. Gold is number one. He always says, sell your Bitcoin, buy gold. The second that gold starts to fall away, he goes quiet, silence. Okay. Now, I expect probably in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, Bitcoin is going to correct to the downside. And I will cover on here multiple tweets from multiple days of Peter Schiff telling you, I was right, you were wrong. You should have bought gold. You bought your crazy air coins. But when gold falls, he goes silent. Good morning, Darren and Lean. I hope you're okay. Amit, Vashi, we are good. What about you? I am good. Rosina, I hope you are well. Quinn is here. Thomas has taken a scalp on Bitcoin, or he's got some targets. He's given some advice in chat about that. I can't confirm or deny whether that's the right thing to do or not, of course. But nice to see all of you in chat today. I hope you are doing incredibly well. Now then, a couple of more of these, and then we'll get into the main bit of news. It does that to me all the time. I think I've got a problem with my control button. I think I've control V that often that it just doesn't work anymore. Now then, we're not going to talk and go through all of this. Eleanor Terrett, she covers the majority of crypto news in Washington and America as a whole. They are expected to announce that the stablecoin yield issue that they have had for the last, probably since the beginning of the year, banks don't want stable coins to have passive yield because it will ruin the banks. The banks will have a bank run and they'll all go to the wall. So there is a negotiation going on between the banks and the crypto companies like Circle and Tether, and obviously Binance is there and a few others, trying to get this over the line. And we're almost there. But as Charles Hoskinson said, no deal is better than a bad deal. And I think the likes of Brian Armstrong, they're pushing for a good deal. Let's see how that transpires. Hopefully we'll get clarity. Now, the rumor is the end of April. We are now on the 20th of March, so we are 6 weeks away. 6 weeks away from having, hopefully, the stablecoin legislation passed in America, and that will be bullish for crypto. However we want to wrap that up, it's bullish for crypto. And then the final thing I want to talk about is the Binance VIP program just got an upgrade. We covered this the last time they announced it. We're going to cover it again this time. They have lowered the thresholds for you to become a VIP with Binance. You now need $30,000 and 5 BNB to be a VIP rising star. That's all you've got to get. And then there's details about there. The details are all on Binance as well, so make sure to go and check them out. And now we're actually going to get into the news. And I think the biggest bit of news, and it's not really the elephant in the room, but it's the one that we should really be covering first of all, is, of course, the Fed have held rates. Why have they done that? The conflict is causing the price of oil to go up. Oil is energy. So when energy costs more, everything goes up in price, whether it be fuel to drive the trucks, whether it be the cost of electricity to power the plants. Oil is energy. So when there is a conflict and the price of oil goes up, inflation will go up, and you can't start to cut rates as inflation goes up. The reason the rates were put up so high in the first place was to bring inflation down. So you can't then have a conflict which will then cause inflation and then drop interest rates. You will just cause more and more inflation. So Powell cannot cut. He cannot cut. And nobody in their right mind in America is going to cut interest rates while there is a conflict. Now, it's all well and good, Donald Trump sitting there saying it's over, it's finished. We don't have, the war is won or whatever it might be, or we've come to a deal. He can't say that and then that not happen. So we're now looking at what, $150 a barrel, $128 a barrel for oil. That could very well go higher. I still don't think it's going to go to $200 to $250 a barrel. But, I've known to be wrong. And again, because the rate cuts are not likely to happen now, they're also not likely to happen in the very near future. So we probably won't see any rate cuts before summer. We probably won't see any rate cuts over summer. And it all comes down to when the conflict can be resolved. And that is a long way away. Now, rates, by the way, are not as high as they were this time last year. They have come down a bit. They're now 3.5 to 3.75. They were over 4% at one point. So they have come down a little bit, but they're not going to come down anytime soon. Now, this does weigh on crypto. It weighs on the stock market. It weighs on everything. The cost of money is more expensive at 3.5% than it is at 1%. Okay, your loans, your debt, whatever it might be, it's more expensive. Now, the Fed wants to have inflation at 2%. We've been covering this now for at least 6 months using independent data to show that rates have been below 1%. Okay, inflation rates have been below 1%, 0.98% at some points. But the Fed are using the wrong data, and the data they are using has a lag on it. It's about a month out of date. So the problem you've got is that the reality is the rates have been a lot lower for a lot longer than the Fed are admitting to. And I just think he's holding on. And we know he's going in May. We know Kevin Warsh is coming in. But don't think Kevin Warsh is going to come in and save crypto and start slashing rates, because that's just not going to happen either. Now then, moving on very quickly. We are going to talk about this. This is today. This is the quadruple witching, which is today. Now, we have covered this kind of stuff before. We have talked about it as it's happened in the past. And this is the convergence of 4 different things on the same day. And the day is normally a Friday. It's normally the last Friday of a month, the last Friday of a quarter, the last Friday of a year. You normally get these kind of events, but we're getting one today. Trillions in equity and index derivatives will expire on Friday during the quarterly quadruple witching event. Now, there is a definition of this down here. On Friday, global markets will face a trillions of dollars quarterly derivatives event known as the quadruple witching. The event occurs on the 3rd Friday of March, June, September, and December, when 4 major types of derivatives expire simultaneously: stock index futures, stock index options, single stock options, and single stock futures. Because traders must close, get rid of that, roll or settle these positions simultaneously, trading activity surges and price swings can intensify in the traditional markets. Again, we always tell you, or our advice, non-financial advice, is whenever there is a major event such as the FOMC meeting and FOMC chat, that's probably not the best day to leverage. You might as well just throw a dice or throw a coin in the air. Most of the time, you will see wicks to the upside and the downside. You will see longs and shorts both getting liquidated because they get hunted. And when you see these types of events, these are set up for massive swings. Now, I don't remember much in the way of this having a huge effect on crypto. The quadruple witching originates in traditional finance. It can spill into crypto markets. Bitcoin increasingly trades alongside broader risk assets, meaning sharp moves in equities often ripple into digital markets. I don't think it has a massive effect on it, but it will have an effect on it. And again, if we want to go back and how it looked in the past, on March the 21st, Bitcoin was slightly down on the day. A significant move came later, with prices bottoming a few weeks afterwards, around 76,000, following the market reaction to President Trump's Liberation Day. And we all remember that, don't we? Oh, yes, we do. We all streamed on that day. And we sat here, and I was trying to tell you that we were not going to get wrecked, because we wicked all the way down to about 74,000. It says 76 on here, but it's actually 74,000 we wicked down to. And I'm going to show you the chart on that now. On June, when this happened, we reached a local bottom 2 days after. And again, we didn't drop from 177 to 108. I think there might be a typo there. So again, it has a small effect. It's not going to have a massive effect. You're going to hear people mention quad witching today. It's not going to have that much of an effect on the market, but it will affect stocks and shares. Right then, very quickly, I don't want to spend too long on the chart. I've covered this already on Monday, but I want to kind of highlight a few things that we need to cover, and that is this. We are in a kind of pattern that we have been in up here. And I know you're seeing people on crypto Twitter telling you this time it's different. This time we're not going to come down. This time we're going to bounce and we're going to go higher. Now, yes, we have multiple lines on here about where we can come down to and where we can wick to. 74,000 is the first of my 3 price targets for Bitcoin. The next one up is 80,000, and then the final one is there, which is coming in at about 84,000. And I think of a little bit higher, 84 to 85,000. They are my 3 targets for Bitcoin. Do I expect all 3 to be hit? No. Do I think that we could come down from where we are now? Potentially. Now, the issue that we've got is, in a bear market, every upward movement causes hopium. But in a bear market, that hopium is normally shattered on resistance. And resistance comes when you see Bitcoin struggling to get above one of those prices. For us to get to the next leg up, which is 80,000, we need to break 74,000 and hold it. That's what we need to do. We haven't done that. We're still in this little channel. Now, the last time we were in a similar channel was up here. Now, we fell, and I don't really want to know where we want to draw this line from, but let's say we do that. Okay, we fell, and we did that. Now, if we do the same thing again, for argument's sake, and we look at where we are from here to here, and we drag that across, we go a lot lower than I think we're going to go, which is about there. Okay, let's move it around a bit. because that's where I think we're going to go to. Anyway, finger in the air on this kind of stuff. If you listen to a certain group of people, we are going to this line, which is coming in at about $41,000, $43,000. That's where people are telling you that we're going to go. I don't know if we're going to get there or not. I think that's an incredibly deep bear market. My price target, which for some reason isn't on here, is somewhere in the region of this, which is 50,400 or thereabouts. And the reason is diminishing returns to the upside should be accompanied by diminishing losses to the downside, or diminishing retractions to the downside, whatever term you want to use. So if we don't go and do a 500x and we're going to do a 200x because Bitcoin's at 1.6 trillion, then we can't expect it to do the full retracement that it does in the previous markets. Now, we did a 77% retracement in 2021, but that was off the back of FTX and Luna and Celsius. We've not got any of that this time, number one. And number two, Bitcoin is considerably higher than it was. So in terms of the market move, a 60% correction to the downside would bring... Okay, I think we're going to go there. Now, that might worry you. You might be shocked by that. You might think that's not going to happen. We're going to bottom at 60,000, and maybe we do. But the pattern suggests we go lower. Now, my pattern, which I've covered in about 4 or 5 videos now, is not too far off the pattern of other people that are predicting the same thing. So there's a little bit of confluence. The patterns all tie up. I'm not going to sit here and give you a different prediction or the same prediction because somebody else has said it. I'm going to give you a prediction based on what I think. So I think 50,000. Other people say 40,000. I think that's a bit negative. There are other people saying that this was the bottom, 60,000. And 63,000 is a 50% move to the downside. Maybe they are right. And it's all well and good. We can look in hindsight and we can say, well, clearly that was the right answer. Clearly 63,000 was the bottom or 50,000 was the bottom. We don't know until we're in it. The second thing to bear in mind, and this is probably the more important of the two things. The bear market lasts roughly 12 months. Roughly 12 months. And it starts from the peak of the previous all-time high, which is there. So the issue that I have, the second issue I have, is that we are in March. The all-time high was October last year. So we are 6 months into the bear market. So the minimum, roughly, is about another 6 months. Now, there's many, many ways we can do this. We could just do this for the next 6 months. We could even do what everybody's predicting and do that. Absolutely. But whatever happens, we've still probably got a minimum, I'd say, of September, which is probably another, 6 months away? 5 months away? That's the time-based look at the bull market and going into the bear market. The price look at the bull market going into the bear market is 50 to 40,000. So you've got a price range of where we could go to. You've also got a time range. And maybe, as I said, maybe all of this range is missed and we hold this level. Maybe we do. Maybe, and it would be amazing if we did. But all I'm saying is, don't be massively surprised if Bitcoin does this and goes here. Do not be massively surprised. It's how the pattern plays out. The pattern doesn't have to play out. I have not got a crystal ball to tell you what the future says, but I will tell you that if the pattern plays out, we've got until October or November. We will then have bottomed, and then next year, 2027, we're going to have a better year. That's what I've been said. That's what I've been looking at for the last 3 months. We have a question. Too many people expect another big dip on Bitcoin. Based on my personal experience, Bitcoin always goes against what people expect. Spot and chill, maybe DCA if it goes lower. Good question. Good comment. You are right. It does. But the cycle, the 2026 so far, and the 2022 and the 2018 cycle have all played out the same way. And what I would say to that is this. Back here, around this area here, I said in one of the videos we made that we would find a bottom, get rejected by the bull market support band, and fall again. I didn't say that based on my knowledge. I said that based on this is what happened in 2022. In 2022, we came down, we rallied into the bull market support band, and then we came down again. And that's exactly what we've done. Now, then what I would like to have seen is another run at the bull market support band, which is back up here. I would love to have seen us get back up here and then get another rejection before we go to the downside. That way, if we get there, there is a chance. And again, going back to your comment, how do we know if this isn't going to play out the same way? I would say breaking above 84,000, breaking 84,000 and holding it. So doing this, okay, that market support band is bear market. Above the bull market support band is bull market. It's not, of course, that is not a hard fact. That's just how I explain things to people. We are below the bull market support band. We're below the moving average. So the price is lower than it traditionally on average has been. So if you're right, and believe you me, I've got a lot of numbers resting on you being right, then that is what we want to see. But if we go off the pattern, which is what I've based my predictions on, then that is the move. Based on the pattern of what has happened. We are seeing global conflict. We're seeing oil prices going through the roof. We're seeing inflation creep up. We're seeing unemployment creep up. None of this is good for Bitcoin. So if we do tank to the downside, it's probably expected. In my humble opinion, it's probably what's expected. But anyway, this is not, Bitcoin has died 160,000 times since it existed, and it's always come back. Bitcoin, over a very decent period of time, call it 3 or 4 years, is always higher than it was 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, and the other thing that is very, very disingenuous is people compare different stages of the bull market to where we are now. So they will compare 2026 to say 2023 or 2024. That's a different stage of the market. You have to compare 26 to 22, 23 to 27, 24 to 28. It's the only way it works because you're at a different point in the market cycle. Now then, this is pretty interesting news that I wanted to include because this is the whale. Okay, this is what people want. People want a Bitcoin, a safe and secure Bitcoin yield solution. If you're sitting there on one Bitcoin and you've got $70,000 locked up, at this moment in time, you can't really earn yield on that. You can't use it as collateral in any really safe way without maybe taking out too big a hedge against it. So there needs to be, and people are working on this, there needs to be multiple ways for you to earn from Bitcoin. People talk about liquid staking tokens. You've got liquid staking Ethereum. You've got liquid staking Solana. And there are people that do liquid staking tokens for Bitcoin. And you can get a Bitcoin. Also, you can get synthetic Bitcoins that work on Ethereum, work on Solana. There's all those kind of things. But when it comes to yield, it doesn't happen. We don't get it. We don't get it. Am I on screen or are they on screen? Frag. Oh, no, Frog. I've got something to point out. I've made a video today on the top 6 real-world asset projects to hold. And number 2 is Chainlink. It's the number 2. And I know it's not strictly a real-world asset project, but it's still a real-world asset project. Without Chainlink, nothing works. Nothing works without Chainlink. Try and do what everyone is trying to do now without Chainlink, and it doesn't work. And for it to be at $9.12, whatever it might be, is criminal. But my video will be out probably... What time's it now? 11:30. My video will probably be out by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So in about two and a half hours, I'm going to put the video out. I recorded it this morning. I'm 3/4 of the way through editing it. And then I'm going to put it live. I'm also going to try and see if there's a way for me to upload it to Binance Square as well. Because I know the Binance Square people don't get to see a lot of my videos because most of my videos are on the rest of the world site. Just give me 1 second. I need to hit refresh. Where are we? Hang on 1 second. I'm just keeping an eye on chat. Good morning, Danny. Listen, it's a slow stream day today. There's not many people watching. There's you, there's Hidden, and there's Frog over on the rest of the world. However, on Binance, there is a bucket load of people commenting that I'm not going to get to read all of their comments. I'm watching a live stream, Bitcoin, MegaMind the Gap. Oh yeah, Thomas has reposted it. Thank you very much. Ronnie, hello Yash, I hope you are well. Hashim, I hope you are well. Keep buying the dips, says Red Portfolio. Totally agree. If you buy into Bitcoin every week, every month, or even every day, for a period of 3 or 4 or 5 years, you will always end up with more money than you've invested. And that has been the case since Bitcoin began. Now, your returns are going to be a lot lower. Had you been dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin in 2010, 2012, your returns would be a lot higher than if you started dollar cost averaging in 2026. But they're still going to be there. Over a period of time, Bitcoin has proven to be an asset that will increase in value over time. Now then, sidetracked by talking about one of my favorite... What is this advert on my screen? There we go. Chainlink is one of my favorite assets, without a shadow of a doubt. Is there a reason this... There we go. Won't get any larger. So, according to Evan Web 3, Hashi has been launched on the DevNet as a new developer primitive designed to enable Bitcoin collateralization for lending in the Sui DeFi ecosystem. This platform emphasizes decentralization, transparency, and security, whilst receiving support from many major industry players, including Bullish, Iberbank, Falcon X, Fortify, and Ledger. With Bitcoin's vast market cap and minimal current DeFi integration, Hashi aims to redefine Bitcoin's role in decentralized finance. Now, we are not going to go into the depths of this because I don't want to go too technical on a news show. The long and short of it is this. The lines between centralized exchanges and DeFi and decentralized exchanges are all blurring. Binance has its own Web3 center. It also has its own DEX access. It also gives you access to DeFi, you know, the Morphos of this world, the Ondos of this world. If Hashi is a success and Hashi works, there is no reason why Hashi cannot be a product on Binance. Solve protocol, SOLV protocol, is something that Binance has had on its platform now for about 9 months. I think maybe even longer. You stake your Bitcoin, you get Solve tokens, you can earn maybe 1 or 2% of your Bitcoin. It's DeFi. It's DeFi on Binance. Binance is going to be all things to all men and women. It's going to be a bank. You're going to be able to pay your bills with your bank account on Binance. You're going to be able to trade on Binance. You're going to be able to trade DeFi. You're going to be able to trade on DEXs. The same way that all other centralized exchanges are also going to have the lines blurred. Look at, you're probably too young to remember this, so bear with me. AOL was America Online was the largest ISP, which I've not heard that word in years. They were the largest ISP in the world at one point. And they merged. Who did AOL merge with? Was it Warner? Time Warner, I think it was. Many, many moons ago. 2001. 2001, AOL and Time Warner merged for 182 billion, creating the world's largest media company, $350 billion valuation. Now, we are going to see the same thing again. 25 years later, I'm that old. 25 years later, we're going to see the merger of traditional finance with Web3. We're going to see Binance becoming a bank. We're going to see banks trying to become Binance. We're going to see centralized exchanges have DeFi on them. We're going to see tokenized gold, tokenized oil, and it's all going to become one great big amalgamation of absolutely everything, okay? And you're going to have a Binance account that's going to give you everything. You're going to have another exchange's account that's going to give you everything. And you're going to be able to arbitrage which one offers you the best product on Bitcoin, which one gives you the best tokenized stocks, which one incentivizes you to hold your stable coins there. That's where we're going. And the reason I keep harping on about Bitcoin yield is it is the thing that we need because we don't have it. We talked in the past about many things that were missing from crypto, and they've subsequently all been added. You know, tokenized assets, the fractionalized ownership of buildings and NFTs and all that kind of stuff. It's all come now. We've all got all of that. What's the big thing we don't have? We don't have a yield on Bitcoin. So Hashi on Sui, it's still very, very early. I did and ah about including it because there's no live product yet, but these things are going to come to Solana, to Sui, to Ethereum, to their own layer 2s, and at some point they're going to come to the Binance Smart Chain, and they're going to come to Binance as well as everywhere else. Now, I have a few more comments. Who else is in chat? I don't know where everybody has gone. I think everyone's literally given up on YouTube. Looking forward to that video. No problem. Yeah, absolutely no problem. I can't read the rest of the comments on Binance. I've only just done them. Europe's largest asset manager launches a $100 million fund focusing on 2 altcoins. Amundi, Europe's largest asset manager, has launched a $100 million fund across 2 different altcoin networks. Now, these aren't 2 coins that you're going to expect. And I've included this because I think this is a bit left field for people to do this. They've launched a blockchain-based financial product with a new tokenized fund on the Ethereum and Stellar network. The company, which manages 2.3 trillion in assets, received an initial commitment of $100 million for the fund. It is called Spyco Amundi Overnight Swap Fund, SAFU. And it's the Paris-based company's second blockchain-based fund issuance in the last 5 months. Previously launched a tokenized share class of a money market fund on Ethereum in November in collaboration with Kaises. The new fund is structured as a tokenized sub-fund. We don't need to talk about the ins and outs of that. SAFU offers advantages such as near-instant reconciliation, flexible custody options, real-time transparency of investor records, and 24/7 cross-border transfer capabilities. Now, the thing that surprised me was if I was going to launch a fund today, I would launch it on three blockchains. I would launch it on Ethereum, Solana, and then probably XRP. If I'm looking at institutions, I'm looking at XRP. I would not look at Stellar. Now, we've not covered Stellar in an eternity. Now, Stellar falls under one of the blockchains that is approved for usage by banks. There is a various list of ISO regulations and various different regulations that exist in Europe, in America, and there's a group of about, I think, 10 or 12 different blockchains that have passed the scrutiny to be accepted to be used. Ripple is another one of them. So they've used Stellar. Now, Stellar is cheap, Stellar is fast, Stellar is, it's there, but it's never in the news. It's never in the headlines. Now, if Amundi are going to wrap up a wallet in an app and run those transactions across Ethereum and Stellar, absolutely fantastic. It's going to work brilliantly for Stellar. But I don't see any Stellar native DeFi apps out there. I've not heard of any. I've heard more about Sui than I've heard about Stellar in the last year or so. So that's a surprise for me. Launching it on Ethereum is a no-brainer. If you're going to launch anything in crypto, you launch it on Ethereum and then you launch it on Solana. And that's your first two ports of call. Coming up the rear, Binance Smart Chain, simply because of the volume. There's so many users, stablecoin transactions. I think we covered this at the beginning of the week when we talked about stablecoins. Maybe it was on Friday. There's just a vast amount. I keep bringing up the same. I think my control button is bust because my control C is not control C'ing, and my control V is not working either. So yeah, I'm not too sure why they've picked Stellar, and there's no information in the article as to why they've picked Stellar, but they have. Now then, JP Morgan notes Hyperliquid gaining traction as traders seek 24/7 oil trading. When we speak about how do we get adoption, how do we bring people to crypto, how do we get people on board, and I very briefly mentioned this at the start of the week, and everyone's like, oh, we'll use gaming, we'll use virtual reality. Well, go and ask Zuckerberg how that's going for him because he's just wasted $80 billion. We talk about games, we talk about bringing retail to crypto, and a lot of people have been looking in the wrong place. That is not really going to drive adoption. Having NFTs for your coffee in Starbucks is great. It is great. You can get a nice, VIP drink every once in a while. How do you drive real adoption? You drive it through making traditional finance businesses have FOMO. You scare the pants off them. That's what you do. And in a kind of really perverse way, the crisis that we're seeing with oil now is making all of the TradFi companies wet the bed. You have Donald Trump deciding to do various different things on a Friday night when the stock market is closed, and then spend Saturday and Sunday doing whatever it is that he's trying to do so that the markets open on a Monday with less of an effect than they would have if he'd done it on a Tuesday afternoon. And I think we talked about this last week, but I didn't have this article in front of me to talk about it. Now, basically, JP Morgan and everybody else have been sitting there watching the volumes plowing through Hyperliquid when it comes to oil, because Hyperliquid is 24/7, 365, and they are doing billions. JP Morgan, they close at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, and they probably don't open till about 9:30 on a Monday morning. So JP Morgan don't have 2.5 days of trading for when these things happen. And this FOMO is going to drive them into Web3. This is what we want. Hyperliquid, on the other hand, are making hay while the sun shines, and who can blame them? So the decentralized exchange built on its own layer 1 saw a surge in activity as non-crypto traders turned to 24/7 perps futures to gain exposure to oil during traditional off-market hours and weekends, JP Morgan analysts have said. Trading in the oil-linked perpetual futures contract on Hype, the West Texas Intermediate crude oil contract spiked earlier this month, as we all know. Daily trading volume reached $1.7 billion in mid-March, with open interest rising roughly $300 million, making it the exchange's third most traded product after Bitcoin and Ether, the analyst noted. Now, what happened before this was, of course, people were trading gold and people were trading silver, and the numbers weren't as high, so probably didn't get the notice of JP Morgan's of this world. But then oil came along and started spiking, and now we have the attention of the big boys. The analyst said demand for trading traditional assets outside of market hours is driving interest in decentralized exchanges. We don't just read all of this. JP Morgan, this traction is likely to grow over time and extend to other assets beyond commodities as decentralized exchanges exploit a gap in traditional markets by facilitating 24/7 trading. Here we go. Now, CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they haven't gone 24/7 for their traditional stocks. They're going to go 24/5, I believe, which is 24 hours a day, Monday to Friday. But they are going to do 24/7 for crypto. So you'll be able to do that outside of the working hours. And again, I'm going to say the same thing I said every time we cover stuff like this. If I said to you 25 years ago, I would have to walk for 15 or 20 minutes to my local video shop to get a video and only have that video to use for a 24-hour period, take a plastic box back to my house, put it in a machine, and watch a 360D version of a movie, you'd have laughed at me. Nowadays, you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon, you've got Apple, you've got them all. Books are the same thing. You had to wait for a Monday morning to go and buy a book. Now you can download it on Amazon in 5 minutes. Finance is the only thing that hasn't made that move. Why? Tomorrow morning, you wake up and you want to buy Tesla stock and you can't because the markets are closed. Why? Why are the markets closed? It's still an old boys club. They still run the show. They want to work 9:30 till 4:30, Monday to Friday, and have the weekends off and have their summers in the Hamptons. It's an old boys network. And you and all of your degen friends are making them realize that they have been turned into dinosaurs and they're going to be gone. The trading floors that we have now are going to become museums. Wall Street is going to become a museum. The same way you watch Night at the Museum and you see them walking around seeing all the dinosaurs. Wall Street, you're going to walk in, you're going to have Robin Williams, instead of being on a horse with a sword, he's going to have a piece of paper in his hand that says sell. They're going to become museums because they're outdated and everything's going to come online. But the one thing I will say about things coming online is the more things come online, especially when it comes to stocks and shares, I think the more volatile stocks and shares are going to become. So rather than crypto following the route of stocks and shares and becoming less volatile, I think having everything online is just going to make everything volatile. Imagine if something comes out on a Friday night about the CEO of Apple and it was fake news, but it comes out on a Saturday night and there's nobody around to dispute it. Billions upon billions of dollars could be wiped off the share price of Apple before anybody realizes that it's fake news. So that's one of the dangers of having 24/7 365 is misinformation, disinformation, FUD. It can ruin a company. A company could be worth $1 trillion on a Friday night, and by Monday morning, it could be worth 150 billion. That's what can happen. So I think stocks and shares will become more volatile, and that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for anybody. Good morning, Kishan. I hope you are well. I hope you're doing okay. Right, very quickly before we move on, we've got 6 minutes left and we've made it on to the last two articles. This is one that I kind of want to talk about because it's been quite contentious. Let me just very quickly check on chat, make sure everybody's in chat. Lots of people are looking at the Bitcoin chart. I hope you are well. Remember, drop a comment in chat if you are here. Just give me 1 second to just do this. I'm going to drop this now. And remember, if you are watching, we do have our own chat room on Binance Square now. You can join that. It's completely free. I will keep you up to date on all of what's going on for the competitions, the giveaways, the quiz shows that we do. We will keep you up to date. So let's drop that now. Let's go back to talk about this. Make sure I'm on full screen. What I normally do when people ask is I normally cover it on the following show. But I can have a quick look for you now, but I will. We have covered them before, but I will have a little look at the end. Yeah. Right then. So Algorand Foundation cuts 25% of staff. If it is not the only crypto organization shrinking this month. Algorand has cut 25% of its staff. A certain other exchange has cut 12% of its staff. Amazon are looking to lay off, I don't think they're laying off 600,000 people, but they're laying off an awful lot. And it all comes down to a couple of things. Number one, a lot of blockchains are bloated. They have too many staff. They need to cut them. Number two, the advent of AI is making a lot of jobs, or a lot of jobs becoming more efficient, which means you need less people to do them. A lot of people think, oh, well, we've got a marketing department. We can get AI to do it. Let's get rid of the marketing department. No, it means that 3 or 4 people in marketing can do the work of 20 people in marketing. So you then need 3 or 4 people to do the jobs. So you lay off the rest. Same with finance. A lot of finance jobs are going to get cut. Accountancy jobs are going to get cut. But they're not going to get rid of the entire team. They're just going to shrink the team down to be able to do the work more efficiently. Algorand has 200 people working for it. They're going to reduce that to 150. They're a non-profit organization. And I don't believe that they're necessarily going to go absolutely bust in the next month or so, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the foundation holds $38 million in US denominated assets alongside 1.1 million algo tokens. The cuts are not a distress signal. They are a deliberate reallocation of resources toward what the foundation described as long-term priorities, specifically financial empowerment and core protocol development. The broader pattern, as we've mentioned, another exchange is going to lay off a certain number of staff. Blockchain.com, Optimism Labs, Gemini have also cut staff by 20 to 25%. The AI angle is pretty much there for you. But what I'm going to say, not necessarily about Algorand, is this. 75% of blockchains that exist today will not be here in 5 years' time. 95% of projects that are here today will not be here in 5 years' time. The majority of projects that are live are basically proof of concept. We're going to build something to do this. You'll hear it in the AMAs. We are building the world's best. We are building the world's fastest. We are building the world's fairest. We are building. And people go and buy the token, go and buy the token, go and buy the token. Okay? Show me the CEOs that sit there and say this. We have built a product that generates revenue from demand, that we are making profits to reinvest in the business to grow our share of the market. Show me those companies, because the video I've made today with the 6 best real-world asset projects that you should be in, that video I've made today, each of those companies in that list is making revenue and in turn making a profit. So do I believe that 100% of my 6 projects will be around in 5 years' time? Probably 95% certain, yes. Algorand cutting staff is not a sign of weakness in Algorand. The other exchange that I'm not going to mention the name of, losing 12% of its staff, is not going to go bust because of you know, they're cutting numbers because they're not making money. They're all making money. All of them are making money. But AI has made staff more efficient. It hasn't replaced staff. It's making them more efficient. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. We have a delivery, I think, which is going to be here in a minute. So, long and short of it is, don't panic. Theta is my answer. Don't panic about stuff like that. Right, I'm going to have to go. Awfully sorry. See you soon. Bye-bye.